Also, mi gente, welcome to my Monday podcast, Let's Overthink It, with your host, Elefante Blanco. Talking a little bit about a random topic today, which is tipping. Sometimes there will be times that I talk about politics and psychology, as you have been seeing in my previous episodes and other stuff. But today is a random cultural topic, tipping. As always, thank you for tuning in and taking some time out of your busy day, to connect with me here in a secret undisclosed beach, celebrating my belated birthday. It was 3 days ago, and my family and friends really stepped up, showing unconditional positive regard, which is another way of saying love in psychology. The people at work, they really stepped up as well. It was a really nice day overall, really nice day. So happy birthday to me. I appreciate you and love you. Before we jump to the topic, how about we start with a joke first, like we always like to do, all right? And since we're on that theme of birthdays and getting older, let's make a joke about that. Are you ready? How do you make sure a birthday party in outer space is super fun? You plan it. All right, so what are we going to talk about today? I already mentioned it. Well, we're going to be talking about tipping. Should tipping be abolished? Should tipping be mandatory? Have you all noticed that after COVID, it seems like every spot you go to is asking for a tip? Even fast food places like Subway, McDonald's, no, I don't think McDonald's is, but Subway is for sure. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's right for two reasons. So I think, number one, they're putting you in a position to feel guilty, even if you don't want to tip. I mean, in addition to that physical pressure of feeling hungry or hangry, you're getting the psychological pressure to make a decision. So the other reason is that these employees don't fall under the category of tip wages, that exists in our tax code. They usually make between $12 and $17 an hour. And in California, where I am, the state mandates that for the minimum wage to be $20 an hour. So, when you look at the tax code, there's such a thing called tip wages, as I'm sure you're aware of. And we all know who those people are. Many of them are our friends, our family, ex-girlfriends, ex-husbands, doing jobs that, many times ask for a tip, like waiters, bartenders, Uber drivers, barbers, hairstylists, and strippers, they get a tip too. So, do you know what the federal minimum wage is for tip employees? $2.13 an hour. That is the federal minimum wage for tip workers. I don't know why they got the 13 in there, but that's what it is. Now let's be honest. You and I know that if they make more than the regular federal minimum wage of $7.25 per hour, in combination with their tips, that's when the boss can pay them $2 an hour. Okay, $2.13. But for the most part, they end up making a whole lot more than $20 an hour. And I know because I have dozens of friends who are in the industry, and they tell me all these things. They tell me this little secret themselves that they actually make more than that. So I think we should definitely tip them. I mean, I'm not against that. The waiters, the bartenders, who are seriously listed in the tax code as people who would maybe prone to at some point receiving that, that minimum wage of $2.13, kind of like $1, like a penalty. But for others, Subway, Panera, Starbucks, I'm sorry, I don't think so. They're usually already making, $17, $20 an hour from the start. So, nope, sorry about that. So what about in restaurants? Uh-oh. What about in restaurants? This is the controversial part. Why? Because there are even some places out there that are forcing you. Um, I mean, it's even written in the menu that parties more than a certain number, blah blah blah, have to pay a tip, and it's actually added on the check. So that I don't think that's right. And many people know that's not right. So because the spirit, why? But let me say why. Because the spirit of tipping is an expression of gratitude for service. So that's why sometimes you see waiters on social media or news reports showing that they got $100 tip or even $1,000 tip, and because the service was awesome. I think that's the way it should be. What do all my friends servers think out there? What do you think about that? Because I've already heard it all. Well, sometimes like a big party comes in, and they live little and sometimes even zero tip. That's not right. And I heard that, but is the money part an issue that should be discussed with the customer or with your boss? Maybe your boss should be the one to raise your salary, so you don't have to depend on the customer for it. Just a thought. But I really like to hear, what you think. What am I missing here? If I'm missing anything, where are my blind spots? Where am I being insensitive? Maybe a little bit, because if at all. Because I gotta tell you that there are some servers out there that definitely deserve no tip at all. And you've been in that situation before. They come in with an attitude, no smiles, they don't introduce themselves, they get the orders wrong and blame it on the customer. They're argumentative, and then on top of that, they expect us to tip them. No way. But like I say, one thing I say, as I say one thing, I say the other. I try to be fair. For those of you who know me, who know that about me, that I always try to be kind of fair. Now there are those servers who are extreme professionals. One comes to mind right away, who works over at the great restaurant in Washington D.C., the Capitol Grill, and this dude is the gold standard of service. He's charismatic, he has a good memory, he's humorous, he's sophisticated, he's knowledgeable about the menus, about the wines, about the food. He's professional, and he's just really a master at it. So, now that kind of service, I think, is something that you don't even think twice to tip. You just give joyfully, like the Bible says, So out of the kindness of your own heart, because you want to. You want to give that tip. You want to show that expression of gratitude for service. So I won't say his name, but if you ever go to that restaurant, his first name starts with an N and his last name starts with an R. All right, so you will not be disappointed if you ask for him. One thing that really shocked me a little bit was when I heard that supposedly some people were arrested for not tipping. They were paying the bill, but they were not paying the tip. So they thought the service, in that situation, that the service was horrible. Can you believe that? That you could actually be arrested for that? I mean, let's be honest, it rarely happens. But there was a group of about 5 people at a restaurant in Philadelphia, and it took more than an hour to get their food. We've all been there. And just imagine, going in hungry, and on top of that, having to wait an hour for the food. We've all been there, right? And in one instance, one of the guys, during that situation in Philadelphia, had to go up to the bar to get his soda refilled, and another one had to go up and pick up the napkins and the silverware, on their own, because the server wouldn't come to their table. The manager said that that they were unusually busy that night, and then, I think, I don't know, because if the manager knows, that basically, hire more people. If you know that you're unusually busy that night, and that on those nights you usually have peak nights, maybe you should hire more people, right? And they know very well, when their peak nights are. So I don't know. I mean, the manager in that incident said that they supposedly asked, like the manager asked to comp their food on the bill. That they asked that. He asked? I don't know. I mean, why would you ask? You don't ask. You just do it, right? So the couple that was arrested said that there was no offer to comp the food. So I guess it's true because when you look at the bill, the food was still in the check. So, technically speaking, if the restaurant has warned you about it, technically speaking, has placed it on the menu in writing and even changes its name and calls it, and you've all seen it too, a service fee or a charge fee, very tricky, very sneaky, right? And I don't think that's right either. Then you're refusing to pay. It means that the bill is technically not paid in full. So if a customer refuses, if you refuse, the restaurant can call the police to claim that that you're attempting to leave without paying for the services rendered. So keep that in mind. It doesn't happen often, but it did happen in this case back in 2009 in Philadelphia. So keep that in mind. Normally prosecutors usually look at it as a civil dispute and drop the charges, but it could be a bad time, especially when you went out to have fun and all of that. So in conclusion, as we wrap up, we go back to the original question: should tipping be abolished in the U.S.? What should be done about tipping? Maybe employers in the U.S. should just pay workers a fair wage, from the get-go. And we can eliminate the federal minimum wage of $2.13. They don't have that in Europe, and it works pretty well for them, I think. I've seen it with my own eyes, as many of you know me. I've been around about 40 countries so far, and usually they don't tip. And if they do, it's usually about 5 to 10%, or they just kind of like round up the bills. So sometimes when you give more, like 20% or more, they get confused. And if it's cash, they come for you. They come running for you to give it back to you, thinking that you made a mistake or something. So so keep that in mind. I'm sure that for those of you who have been outside of the United States, Puerto Rico, and gone to Europe and Asia and places like that, that's usually what happens. So I'll leave it with that question. What should be done about tipping? I think I've changed that question a few times. Should we abolish tipping? What should be done about tipping? But the main theme is tipping. So I want to hear you. Should it be abolished? Should it be kept voluntary? Should it be more? Should the boss pay more? What do you think? What do you think? That's all right. That's all I have for today. But I really would like to hear about what you think about this topic on tipping. But before I go, I always like to finish the podcast with a word of the day. And as I always say, they're going to be from different languages every now and then. And so today's word of the day is parsimonious. Parsimonious. You know what it is? I won't tell you because like my teacher, and as I always say, my teacher used to say, if I tell you, you won't remember it. But if you look it up, you'll remember it for the rest of your life. So God bless you, mi gente. See you next time, okay? Take care.